Still talking about INEC's approach to the presidential election and expectations ahead of Saturday's governorship election. We have joining us now political activist and spokesperson for the Obidati Campaign Council, Dele Farotimi, I beg your pardon. He'll be joining us this morning to expand this conversation even further. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're having a conversation about the election so far, and I think I'll start off with the last question that I asked our last guest. As to your thoughts on INEC's preparedness for the gubernatorial elections holding in the next few days.
The question is, what is INEC prepared to do? They assured us on the 25th, they were prepared. We were going to have this seamless election that would rival anything that has been done anywhere in the world for fairness and transparency. And these guidelines were issued, and the brilliant professor of INEC was busy reassuring the world how free and fair our elections would be. So we were prepared as Nigerians. We trooped out in our numbers, and INEC proved itself to be completely useless, if the truth be told. So now, the same body, headed by the same rotten heads, are busy assuring us that we would have seamless, free and fair elections on Saturday. So when you ask about the readiness of INEC, I'm sorry to say, painful as it is, INEC is not ready. Readiness in the terms of, are you ready to provide free and fair elections? Are you ready to allow Nigerians to vote their consciences? Or would we be witnessing the same monkeying around that we saw on the 25th? I don't believe INEC is prepared, and I'm hoping that they'll prove me wrong. But I'm not holding my breath. There is no basis upon which to trust INEC to do the right thing.
Well, how disappointed do you feel, seeing the way that turned out with the presidential elections? And of course, now we're going into the governorship elections. There's still, seemingly much clamor for free and fair elections. There's a lot of expectations also. But one thing I've always asked is, when we see, from what people have said, this level of incompetence that eventually does provide a president-elect, and it seems like Nigerians, are almost not able to express themselves well enough, and we just move on. So, tell me how you feel about, how the whole process, from what it looks like, will just come and go, and we might just move on like that and accept it, the way that it is. And Nigerians also ready for Saturday's elections, the governorship elections, even if you say INEC may not be ready.
Well, one thing I can tell you, Nigerians have been ready for a while to be rid of this horrible government. At almost every level of our governance systems, we've been plagued by all manner of incompetent and wicked people. So Nigerians were ready. On the 25th, we trooped out in record numbers. That is to show you that we were always ready for change. But trooping out in record numbers did not stop INEC from concocting figures and manufacturing numbers that were completely at variance with the reality. But that is to one side. You asked how disappointed I am. I'm sorry to say, and though this might sound a little, perhaps, fatalistic, I am not disappointed. INEC has not disappointed me. Disappointment is the space that exists between your expectation and the reality. I expected INEC to be as useless as it was on the 25th. The only thing that might have happened is I was a little surprised that they surpassed my expectation of the depth to which they were prepared to sink. So it's not about disappointment. I'm not disappointed with INEC. I am also cognizant of the fact that on this Saturday, a lot of people remembering what INEC had done in the last election might find themselves despondent to the point where they might believe that it is more profitable to be disconnected from that system. I am of the firm opinion that the only thing we are left with, which answers the question as to the preparedness of the people, we must be prepared to continue to assert our rights. Let INEC continue to prove itself to be as incompetent as it is. Let every other person, the so-called politicians, their henchmen on our street that we call thugs, who are actually part and parcel of the evil governance system that we have, let them come out and do their things. Let the world see We'll go out with our cameras, we'll go out and make sure we gather evidences of what they are doing. We will deny legitimacy to this evil. You said we'll shrug up our shoulders and move on. Look, the cosmic balance has been thrown into tailspin. Somebody grabbed what he was not given by force. But a thief might enter my car. He might even start the car. But as long as I'm the one who has to open the door for that thief to exit with my car, it's up to me to decide whether I want to open the door or not. The INEC select president might be sworn in by INEC and all the forces of impunity in Nigeria, but it's not going to change the fact that we did not elect him. He has a long road to illegitimacy in front of him. As useless as our courts might be, I'm sure we'll take him through that process to further strip him of any legitimacy he might be seeking to find in his fraud. We did not elect him, and it is not up to INEC to force anybody on us.
All right, let's talk about some of the alliances, I would say. I won't call them mergers. We've seen that, or there have been reports, and I'd like you to clarify the truth or otherwise of these reports, of the Labour Party throwing its weight behind the PDP gubernatorial candidates in Ogun State, in Nasarawa, in Enugu. And there are further reports that this is causing some form of division in the camp of the obedient. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, when Yorubas have this proverb, they say, when you are rich, everybody knows you. If you are a poor man, you get disowned. The Labour Party has been in existence for a while, but the obedient movement is a recent phenomenon. Now, it's a movement that a lot of people find political capital in and they seek to exploit. What I can tell you as a fact is this. In Lagos State, there is nothing like the Labour Party throwing its weight behind the PDP. I know that there is a lot of us trading going on. Tinubu is busy in his transfer season, buying all kinds of non-entities as politicians who are meant to help them to rise their ticket this or day. I know that in Enugu State, the principal, Mr. Peter Obi, has come out categorically to explain the fact that where Labour Party has candidates, we don't go into alliance with anybody. The Labour Party is the vehicle through which the obedient movement is actualizing its intentions. In Enugu State, there is a Labour Party candidate, and Mr. Peter Obi was very categorical in making clear that that is the person behind whom he stands. Mrs. Aisha Yusuf, an illustrious member of the obedient movement, well within her right, decided that she would prefer to cite Frank Nweke, a good man. That's her call. I have no horse in their race. I believe one gentleman that had been expelled from the obedient movement, one Yere or something of that nature, came out and presumed to speak on behalf of what he called, in fairness to him, he didn't call it OBI, it was obedient. So it is very possible that he has another organization that is leading that is different from the obedient movement. But as far as the obedient movement is concerned, we told the line taken by the principal, there is a candidate for the Labour Party in Enugu State, and that is the candidate for the movement as far as Mr. Peter Obi is concerned, and that is where I don't have any personal horse in that race. When it comes to, I think those are the two states you've mentioned, if my memory serves me right.
So there's Enugu, Nasarawa, and Ogun State.
I would not be able to speak categorically in relation to either Ogun or Nasarawa because, as I said, I am not in the inner workings of the Labour Party itself. I don't know what might have been decided. The fact that I can even speak to Enugu is mainly because the principal has spoken to it and I was privy to that discussion. But when it comes to Nasarawa and Enugu and
Ogun State,
whatever state that was now, Ogun State, I really cannot speak in good conscience. I just know that we are definitely not in any alliance with APC in Ogun State because they are the reasons why we are almost unable to field candidates there because of the shenanigans they entered into with INEC in Ogun State. So whatever the people in Ogun State have done, I really can't speak to that with any certainty.
Right, Mr. Farotimi, I also want your thoughts on the way that the campaigns have been run in the last few weeks. I've continued to see that there's been an influx of statements, bigotry, and tribalism, and who is an original Lagosian and who's a fake Lagosian, and who can speak Yoruba fluently and who cannot speak Yoruba fluently. There's also, of course, now the Oro Festival, I think, is it Oro, that has been mentioned in all of this, in all of this space. So let's quickly get your thoughts on that. It doesn't seem like the normal way a campaign is run pre-election.
There are several things about Nigeria that are unfortunately peculiar to us and unique to us. Very unfortunate. When you hear a person who decries racism promoting tribalism, it crosses my mind each time I listen to them or run across their pieces that the tribalist is actually the stupid cousin of the racist. But the craziest part of our situation is that those fanning the embers of ethnicity, particularly in Lagos, they are actually the least tribalistic. They are just using tribe and ethnicity as a tool of political mobilization and to also divide those who had united in the past, to hand them the resounding defeat that they received on the 25th. On the 25th of February, I can't speak to other states, I can speak for Lagos. Lagosians trooped out in their numbers across the length and breadth of Lagos, whether those be Igbos, Yorubas, Hausa, Ijaw, Benin, name it. Across the length and breadth of Lagos, from Badagry to Ekpe, we whooped Bola Ahmed Tinubu's ass. But in order to do what they are doing today, between himself, Segun Agbaje, the INEC rec in Lagos State, and INEC itself, what they did was that they concocted figures to suggest that the voters' turnout was as low as less than 1.5 million. And then they doctored the figures to suggest that the election was close, that it was a 10,000 vote difference. There was nothing of the sort. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was resoundingly rejected in Lagos State. The people rejected him. The PDP situation room says Labour Party had over 900,000 votes. PDP itself had a little over 100,000. And APC came second with just a little over 100,000 itself. So you find that the margin was quite wide, but in order to create the narrative that it was the Igbos in Lagos State that voted against Tinubu, so that they can then start all this ethnic bigotry that they are putting all over the place, they doctored the figures to bring it close. Lagos State is too cosmopolitan for the nonsense that they are trying. Oro here, Oro there, just to intimidate. But it tells you just exactly how much the state, I'm talking Nigeria, not just Lagos State, the state itself is failing and is collapsing. When using the auspices of the state, you find criminal elements hiding behind the governance systems, whether that be the traditional institution or even the police, because you find policemen standing aside while citizens, quote and unquote, were being intimidated and told that they cannot vote in a particular way. You find markets being burnt and the guards being killed. You find areas where certain people trade being attacked simply to create the impression that there is some ethnic strife, to depress voters' turnout, to intimidate those they consider their opposition. So let's be clear. Okay. This is not about tribalism. It's about politics, dirty politics, nothing more.
All right. Just before Olive jumps in, just to quickly apologize. Use of language, Mr. Farotimi. There are certain words I'm not sure we can say.
Such as which one, please?
Whooped somebody's,
pardon my friend. I was just simply going to say we beat him black and blue in Lagos State. He got less than 20% of the vote, regardless of the doctorate. We beat him black and blue.
That's
pardon that
friendly.
French. I won't speak that kind of English again. But sorry.
All right, now let's talk about the judicial process or the judiciary. We recall that in 2006, Mr. Peter Obi was the first to unseat a sitting governor through the help of the judiciary by contesting his case in court. Now, we know that your party is currently challenging the process by which the president-elect was announced. Do you have faith in the judiciary being able to turn around this result? And, what are the expectations? Are you expecting fresh elections, or that we will currently work with the evidence that your party has collated?
Remember the PDP spokesperson says, that they have faith and that, it's likely that it will be overturned and fresh
And they
elections.
want fresh elections.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way. Bola is a lawyer. Me, I'm a retired lawyer. So our perspectives on the judiciary might not necessarily be the same. I have zero faith in the capacity of the Nigerian judiciary to do justice. I'm not even just talking about the electoral petition. I'm speaking specifically to the fact that our judiciary is incapable of delivering justice. That's my personal view. However, as you rightly pointed out, Mr. Peter Obi was the first to go all the way in the electoral petition when he was seeking to regain his mandate as governor of Anambra State. He spent 3 years pursuing Ngige before he got him out of place. Mr. Peter Obi is made of different cloth from me. I don't have the patience or the trust to go through the farcical gyration of what we call a judiciary, but he believes, and we also believe, if I may add, my lack of confidence in the judiciary is not for want of evidence to prove our point and our case that Mr. Peter Obi won the election. That is not the problem. The problem is because of my own understanding of that institution and just exactly how rotten it has become from top all the way to the bottom. Is rotten. It is just as useful as our police or our custom. It is not in any way better than any one of those ones. It is a typically Nigerian institution. That is one. So Mr. Peter Obi believes he will get justice from there. It is up to the Nigerian judiciary to decide exactly how putrefied it is and exactly how ready it is to meet the challenges of the future. That is in his own hand. We will prove our case in court. We would also prove it in the court of public opinion. How useless or useful our judiciary is will be a matter of evidence that the whole country will see. We have laws, but they have rarely ever been observed. It is actually those who are charged with the duty of upholding the laws who always trample on it with impunity. But our system has always operated on the basis of impunity, rarely ever on the basis of justice. So maybe the judiciary will find a way to prove the like of us wrong. Maybe Mr. Peter Obi will yet again prove to be the very first who will get a presidential mandate returned. But in my own view, whatever INEC decides to do or not do, the one thing it honestly cannot do is swear him his president-elect. We did not vote that man. We did not. And the evidence is clear. We did not. And we will prove it. So when that has been proven, it is now up to INEC to decide, and the court, I should say, it's up to them to decide on the basis of the evidence whether we should be having another election or whether what we had done that was truncated by INEC is still rescuable in some way. That will be up to the court to determine. The only thing that must not stand is the fraud that INEC has perpetrated.
Dele Farotimi, thank you so much for your time this morning. We always find it interesting speaking.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to bringing you in again.